Welcome to the Hill's 2025 Notable Staffers Reception, honoring the staffers who make Capitol Hill run. Our program will begin shortly. We would like to invite this evening's honorees to the stage to take a 2025 class photo at this time. I repeat, if you are one of our 2025 honorees, please make your way to the front of the stage at this time. Thank you. We would like to invite this evening's honorees to the stage to take a photo at this time. If you are one of our 2025 honorees, please make your way to the stage so that we can get a photo with you. Again, if you are one of our 2025 honorees, congratulations, and please make your way to the front of the stage at this time. If you are one of our 2025 honorees, please make your way to the stage at this time so that we can get a photo of everyone. Our short program will begin momentarily. Please take a seat and turn your attention towards the stage. Again, our program is about to begin. Please take a seat and turn your attention towards the stage. Thank you. Our program is about to begin. Please silence all cell phones and turn your attention towards the stage. Please welcome Kevin O'Hanlon, Senior Director of Government Relations at Samsung Electronics America, to kick off this evening's short program.
Good evening. All right. Do I need to do the teacher thing, flip the lights on and off, get your attention? We're doing better, almost there. I still hear you in the back. All right, good evening. My name is Kevin O'Hanlon. I'm on the government relations team for Samsung Electronics America. On behalf of Samsung, I'd like to welcome you to our DC office. I have the great privilege of welcoming you to our space today. As with so many of us in this room, I too was a former Hill staff. I worked on the Hill quite a few years ago at this point, but I worked for someone who I would say is a true mountain of a legislator. I say that both because he was a great legislator, but he was also an NFL quarterback, so he was a big guy. And I will say to Heath, if you were watching, please know that walking in your footsteps was always the best way of navigating Capitol Hill. And I mean that very literally. He would part the crowds. It was a really great way to walk around Capitol Hill. So for this evening, we're really pleased to be hosting this event. Samsung has been in DC now for over a dozen years, and we have appreciated the opportunity to work with so many of you. We are in 46 states at this point, powering communities primarily in New Jersey, South Carolina, Texas, and California, but elsewhere around the country. And with that, I'd like to say congratulations to the class of 2025. And I know we have a panel of members who will be speaking, but for that, I will turn it over to Bill Salmon from the Hill.
Thank you, Kevin, so much. Yes, I appreciate everybody coming here tonight. My name is Bill Salmon. I'm the Senior Vice President of Editorial Content at The Hill, which just so happens to be the leading politics and policy news website in the nation. You know, at The Hill, we obviously believe that it's important to cover the news coming out of Congress, right? That's what we do. But we also think it's important to recognize the people who actually make it all happen. And I'm not talking about the 535 senators and House members, although we have a number of those here today, and we're very appreciative of that, and we're very pleased with that. But I am talking about their staffers, thousands of them, operating mostly behind the scenes, and yet they're really the glue that holds together the legislative branch of our government. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that without this sort of, largely anonymous army of dedicated public servants, that Congress simply could not function. And I would add one other thing on a personal note, and as a father and as a father-in-law of several former congressional staffers, I appreciate the contribution that you're making, honestly, every day to this country. In fact, one of my, my son-in-law was a Hill staffer for 20 years, believe it or not, recently retired a couple of months ago with a full pension, which raises a larger question: why is my son-in-law retired and I'm working? But that's for another day. This is the third annual Notable Staffers Extravaganza. And this year, it's easy to spot our honorees because of their awesome orange name tags. So make sure you check them out. And also, you may have seen throughout the room, their offices supplied us with these tribute videos, which we're showing on some of the screens throughout the room. We appreciate that as well. Now, we're going to be hearing from some of their bosses, And of course, we're going to be toasting our honorees later tonight. But before we do that, I just want to take a quick moment and thank our sponsors, starting with our venue host, Samsung, for this incredible space that they've provided for us. And by the way, if you haven't had a chance, you got to check out their terrace. You got to walk all the way down to the end of the room by the lunch area and turn left, and there's a beautiful outdoor terrace. I think every other event we've had here, it's been raining. It's not now, so please enjoy the terrace if you get a chance. I also want to thank our other presenting sponsors, the American Investment Council and the American Petroleum Institute, as well as our contributing sponsor, Capital Connect. In fact, I'd like to have a couple of our sponsors come forward and say a few words, starting with Will Dunham, who is President and CEO of the American Investment Council. So let's give a warm welcome to Will Dunham.
Good to see you. It's great to be here. So I was actually a staffer on Capitol Hill for about 15 years. I did not make Most Beautiful. I did not make Notable for any of those 15 years, but I found a back door. It's called sponsorship. So we joked about this last year. It's good to be here. It's good to be with you, and the AIC is very proud to sponsor this event. It's good to take a beat amidst all the noise and all the rancor to thank these staffers. Some of them are dear, dear friends of mine. They're whispering to each other right now. You can find them with their orange name tags. Hi, Brett. Hi, Boland. I'm so proud to sponsor this event and proud of you. It's great to be here on behalf of the American Investment Council. We are the Private Equity and Private Credit Trade Association. And I'm also honored to point out a couple of special guests of mine. My chairman, Pam Hendrickson, is here somewhere in the audience, and another there in the back, and another great member of ours, Belliad, is here. Martin Dolphy, the founder of Belliad, is here. They're the backer of such brands as Van Leeuwen, which you maybe know and love, some of the best ice cream in the world. We were actually up on the Hill offering free ice cream sandwiches today from Van Leeuwen. I'm sorry if you missed. Sorry if you didn't get the invite. This gives you a little taste of how private equity works. Van Leeuwen started as a food truck. It's now 70 locations because it partnered with private equity. We helped them scale, we provided capital, and the entrepreneur provided the idea. And it's a great partnership. With that, thank you so much for coming tonight. It's an honor to be a sponsor. And let's give it up one more time for the staff.
Thank you, Will. And now I would like to invite up Jack Crampton, who is the Vice President of Government Affairs at the American Petroleum Institute. Let's hear it for Jack Crampton.
It's great to be with everyone tonight. Congratulations to the notable staffers. Yes, I'm Jack Crampton with the American Petroleum Institute. We have about 600 member companies, and we're the only trade association in Washington, D.C. that represents all segments of the oil and gas industry. But I am a House and Senate alum. One of my former colleagues, Matt Gallivan, was one of our notable staffers today. And you know the staffers are working hard when some of your most fond memories are being in the Hart Senate office building at 2 in the morning as we're trying to get legislation across the finish line. So a big thank you to all of you. I'm smart enough to know if you want to get something done, you go to the staff. And a lot of the great people in this audience know that, and the members know how important their staff are to get their work done for their constituents. But just want to highlight a big priority for the American Petroleum Institute, and frankly, across the energy sector infrastructure, and that's the discussion and moving legislation on permitting reform. We are starting a program, America Builds, America Wins, focusing on reliability, affordability, and really moving this issue forward after not getting across the finish line for a long time. But we think we have a unique opportunity with both parties understanding the need to get infrastructure moving. So excited to work with a lot of you as those following discussions come. But allow us to move on to the rest of the program. Thanks for having us. It's an honor to sponsor such a great event with such key members and staff. So thank you all.
Thank you, Jack. We are now going to dive into the bipartisan panel discussion. We're very fortunate to have an all-star lineup of A-list lawmakers from across the country, including Republican Senator John Barrasso, who, of course, is the Senate Majority Whip from Wyoming. Senator, is Senator here? Come on down, Senator. Nice to see you. We have, I think joining us later is going to be New York Congressman Adriano Espaillat, who is the senior whip for the Democratic caucus, so we'll hold a spot for him. We do also have California Congressman Jimmy Gomez, who's the deputy whip for policy in the Democratic caucus. Congressman. Also, we have Republican Congressman James Comer of Kentucky. Of course, he's the chair of the House Oversight Committee. And finally, from the great state of Maryland, where I live, Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin, ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee. Now, leading this distinguished group in discussion will be my superstar colleague, Julia Manchester, who's the national political reporter for The Hill. So let's hear it for Julia and our distinguished lawmakers.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you everyone for attending tonight. I know it's been a pretty busy week on Capitol Hill. It's been a pretty, I think, hard week for many of us who cover politics, who are involved in politics. So I appreciate all of your time coming out here to celebrate a group of people that really help make Capitol Hill run. So I want to go around the horn here. We're here to talk about staffers, honor our staffers list. So Congressman Raskin, let's start with you. Say a few words about your honoree.
So my honoree is Greta Gao, who is Chief Counsel of the House Judiciary Committee. Where is Greta? Wave to everybody. She's a brilliant, dazzling lawyer who's had a remarkable career in the Department of Justice, where she was after she was on the Oversight Committee as Chief Counsel. She's had a great career on Capitol Hill, and she's been running our litigation and rapid response group formed in this new year and this new Congress for this new season that we're in, and has overseen the creation of more than a dozen briefs in various cases, like in the birthright citizenship case, the NIH biomedical research grants case, the Department of Education, USAID, you name it. She's overseen our intervention in these cases, and we've gotten terrific attention from the courts. Have cited our briefs at length, and she's a sensational lawyer, and she's coordinated the members and the staff, and she's worked with law firms, and she's just been doing an amazing job there, and I rely very heavily on her. And she gets along great with the staff members across the board, not just Democratic staff, but Republican staff as well, and that's not always true of the members. Yeah.
That's good to hear. Good to hear. Thank you, Congressman. Senator Barrasso.
Well, Dan Kuzman is here. He's from Laramie, Wyoming, originally. Grew up in Wyoming. Wyoming values. Where are you, Dan? We want to applaud you and thank you and congratulate you. So he has Wyoming values through and through. Worked on the Hill on the House side with Congressman Craig Thomas, who then got elected to the Senate. This, you know, you're going back 30 years now. He has experience on the Hill, actually more than I do. He marvelous at everything that he does. He's now the chief of staff in the whip's office, but he was my chief of staff in the Senate office. I was very fortunate that he left the private sector to come back and join me. I said, Dan, we can't pay you what you're really worth. But boy, what he is worth to me goes far in excess. And I think you're going to see that with a lot of the staffers here, that they could make much more money outside than they do at work. But they love the work, and he loves the work. He's very committed to it. We have, as the chief of staff in the whip's office, you'll notice we have not lost a single vote now in 9 months. We've gotten everybody that's gotten to the floor confirmed. We've gotten every bill passed, including some that were quite significant lifts, including our comprehensive economic plan that passed, the rescissions package, one after another after another. The things about Dan, he'll tell you the truth. Even if you don't want to hear it, he knows the truth. He knows, knows where the landmines are, and makes me try to avoid those. He knows where the quicksand is. He makes sure I don't fall in that. And we go back a long, long way. I'm sure I would not be in the United States Senate today if it hadn't been for Dan's wise counsel and good advice, 18 years ago.
Congratulations. And Congressman Gomez, you're looking very spiffy tonight. I understand it's a big night.
Yeah, my chief of staff told me it was black tie, so we were going to have some issues. No, kidding, I'm kidding.
Well, tell us a little bit about your honor.
Yeah, no, my honoree is my chief of staff, Carlos Paz. Give him a round of applause. He's been on the Hill, I guess, 10 years now, which I had no idea. He lasted longer than I had. I only lasted 9 months, and I was asked to move on. That's back then, they didn't fire you. They just asked you to move on. So it shows how tough the jobs are here. And he's worked for tough bosses. He worked for the Congressional Hispanic Caucus under Michelle Lujan Grisham, ended up being governor of New Mexico. He was also worked for Chuck Schumer, and then I picked him up after he was working at Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office. And trying to poach somebody from Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office is hard, because when she finds out, she definitely gives you the cold shoulder. And I remember I knew when she found out that he was going to come over and work for me, is because we were at the California delegation meeting, and she would not sit close to me. She would lean away. And I was like, I got to talk to her before she leaves to say, you know what, thank you so much for allowing Carlos to come and work for me. And I grabbed her before she left, and she's like, we're so disappointed that he's leaving. No, she's good. Before the end of the cycle. And I said, well, if you weren't disappointed, then I would have made the wrong decision. And she just laughed, and she's all, he's going to be great for you. So Carlos is a great chief of staff because he really knows how to form a team. He knows how to get things done. And also, I said, did you ever say no to Nancy Pelosi? And he said, no. And I said, okay, you're for me, because I don't want ever to hear no. I just want to hear, you know what, maybe we can take that idea of yours and make it more plausible, make it so more successful. And that's what he's done with my office in a few short years. Helped start the Dad's Caucus with 6 members, now 45 members, 3 senators, and even Hakeem Jeffries joined. We did a national summit on the housing affordability crisis a couple of weeks ago, bringing together stakeholders from all walks of life. First time it's ever been done. And he did such a great job that people are thinking, can we make this a yearly thing? So he's a great chief of staff, but he's also just a great human being. He loves kids. He loves his family. He fights for not only for my district, but also for just every district. And he's a great mentor for people on the Hill. People come by and ask for his advice every single day in some form or fashion. So he could have left already, to be honest with you, after working for Schumer and Pelosi and even Michelle Lujan Grisham. He could have left, but he's sticking with it because he knows Congress is where a lot of the hard work happens, and you can change lives. So he's doing a great job. I'm glad he's with me, and I hope he doesn't leave anytime soon.
Congratulations. And Congressman Comer, round us off.
Well, I'm very blessed to have a tremendous staff on the Oversight Committee. In fact, a lot of our staff gets picked off by other committee chairs when they get elected committee chairs. You're going to hear about some more here in the very near future. But my friend Brett Guthrie picked off a lot of our staff. So I feel like I'm blessed to have a tremendous staff. And all the staffers do a great job, but one just has stood out time and time again. That's Jake Greenberg. We want to recognize Jake tonight for our notable staffer. Jake has a tough job. Jake's in charge. He's our lead investigator on the House Oversight Committee. We have 2 little investigations that aren't that high profile right now, but you may have heard of the Biden auto pen investigation as well as this Epstein investigation. So Jake's got no shortage of investigations in addition to all the probes and the other investigations that we have. And Jake gets along great with our staff. The Oversight Committee has one of the largest staffs in the House of all the committees. He gets along with the staff on the minority side of the Oversight Committee. We do things bipartisan. It just doesn't get reported in the media. But obviously, our high-profile investigations tend to be a little more controversial in the eyes of the liberal media. But with respect to Jake, I mean, he gets along great with the oversight members. It's a very difficult job to sometimes get along with the House oversight members because they ask a lot of questions. They're always requesting information, and Jake always does it with a smile, and he's very effective at what he does, and respected and credible, and that's what we want. And I'm just honored to get to work with Jake. Congratulations, Jake.
Congratulations, Jake. And I mean, on that note, Congressman, we have some reporters here, we have some cameras here, so let's talk about what we don't see day to day, the maybe bipartisan relationships and working between members and their staffs. Congressman Raskin, you've been on the Judiciary Committee, served your 5th term in Congress. How do you encourage your staffers to build trust with other staffers on the committee, whether they're Republicans or Democrats?
Well, then let's take Greta Gao, for example. So Greta was the chief counsel at the Oversight Committee before she went to become at the Deputy Assistant Attorney General for Legislative Affairs at DOJ. So she's gotten to know people throughout the government, and I think that the staff have the benefit of usually not having to perform in public, where you get a lot of the polemics and theatrics. And so she's somebody who the other staff people can look to, and they have very rational, sane conversations about what's going on, and they're able to give each other good information about what's happening, and it's not a political game of hide and go seek. So it's not so much my encouraging her to do that or encouraging my great staff on the Judiciary Committee to do it. I sort of depend on them to do it, and they know that that's how Capitol Hill really works, that the staff have to have good cordial relations, because there's a lot of people who are in politics who can have somewhat volatile and explosive tempers, but the staff members seem to know how to work it out.
Senator Barrasso, you're obviously the only senator on this stage, but you're the majority whip, and you have to work with other members to kind of obviously whip them together. Talk about that from your staffers' perspective and what they're doing, not only to whip Republicans together, but maybe even some Democrats.
Well, and because I'll quote former senator with big bipartisan Lamar Alexander, and he'd said actually Washington is split-screen television, and on one half there's a fight, and the other side people are getting along pretty well, but most of the viewers look for the fight because it's something that it's encouraged, it's covered, it's invited by the press so often, promoted, and then they sell it because that's what gets the viewers. But there's a lot of work that gets done in a bipartisan way that doesn't make much news. And Dan Kunzman, my chief of staff, makes sure that all of the folks on the staff work closely on committees with people on both sides of the aisle. When I was ranking member, when Joe Manchin, we worked together on the Energy Committee. We got a bipartisan bill out that had to do with the permitting. It came out of committee 15-4. I lost one vote, he lost 3, but we had 15-4, and you can only get that kind of a bill response if you actually have your staff working closely together on both sides of the aisle.
Congressman Gomez, I know you're obviously in the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. I want to get your take on the importance of having a staff and having staffers that reflect what America looks like.
Great question. When I was here on the Hill, there was only a certain amount of elected officials that were Latino descent. And I kind of learned early on, this was back in 2003, 2004, that there is a difference how members are treated. Also, when it came to staff, there was very, very few Latino staff at that level. So from the very beginning, I made it a point to hire Latino chiefs of staff. The first one was Bertha Guerrero, and she was only one of 4 Latinas on Capitol Hill that was a chief of staff. It's kind of improved since then. It's been 8 years. So I hired Carlos as my chief of staff, and it was really important to me because I wanted to make sure that people saw that representation. Not only people that could do the job, but that people that look like them, that had those experiences when it comes to their families, when it comes to their communities. And it does, I think it makes a big difference. My district is 60% Latino, also 20% Asian. It's very diverse. It's very similar to Houston, where Carlos is from. And having that understanding makes you just a better representative and better staff. So when you get an issue from the community, you know that every part of the communities are different. I have little Tokyo, Chinatown, Koreatown, Pico Union, where Salvadorians live, Boa Heights, where Mexican lives, and it's also very diverse. So we have to kind of understand that. So Carlos brings just a inherent understanding because of where he's from and the family he grew up with. So it makes, I think, a big difference when it comes to not only being my advocate with other offices, but also when he leads my district office as well.
Congressman Comer, I know that your committee, the Oversight Committee that you chair, it's been making a lot of headlines lately over the summer. You've had some pretty high-profile hearings, including today. You had the mayor of D.C. and the D.C. Attorney General testify. How do you encourage your staff to work with staffers, not only on the Republicans on the Oversight Committee, but Democrats too?
Well, we want to be bipartisan. Sometimes there are issues that just aren't going to make it in the bipartisan category, but there are a lot of issues that do. We have a great series of investigations on pharmacy benefit managers and came up with a report for suggestions on how to reform that to make it cheaper for the healthcare consumers and things like that. We've had bipartisan work on legislation to pass postal reform when Carolyn Maloney was chairman of the Oversight Committee and I was a ranking member. The staffs worked together very closely in that. We also are trying to work with Washington, D.C. We work very closely with the mayor and the D.C. Council on the new stadium bill that was finally approved by the council yesterday. We also have some other pieces of legislation that the mayor mentioned today in the hearing. So there are opportunities for bipartisanship. We welcome those opportunities. You mentioned the high-profile investigations. We think this Epstein investigation can be bipartisan. We share the same goals as the Democrats, the media, everybody else. We want the truth to be known. We want to put the facts out there. We want to be transparent. That's why we've subpoenaed the estate and made the documents public, and we always make our transcripts public after we do transcribed interviews and depositions. So we welcome an opportunity to work with the Democrats. I think anytime you produce a product that is somewhat bipartisan, it has more credibility. But anytime you prepare for a staff, anytime you prepare for a hearing, there's so much that goes into that hearing, especially a high-profile hearing, because our hearings, we have a lot of TV cameras in our hearings. So there's a lot of guidance. There's a lot of work that the staff has to do. And then there's a lot of, our members, almost every meeting, want to be briefed and updated by staff. They go over potential questions. They have questions. They want research done. And the staff on the Oversight Committee always does it. And Jake's always one of the bright spots there that works so hard and spends so many hours working with our members to try to prepare them for committee hearings and for the bills. And we've passed a lot of bills the last 3 years out of the House Oversight Committee. I would put us at the top of any committee with respect to bills that make it to the floor and pass the floor. So that's all done by the staff, and just blessed to have a great staff and Jake on that staff.
And I know that especially with the mega bill that was passed earlier this year, there's a lot of late nights that go into being a staffer, into being a lawmaker. But for staffers in particular, the pay is not always great as an entry-level job. Late nights, very hard work. I want to go around the horn again and sort of get, if there's one piece of advice you would give maybe a young student or someone who's interested in getting involved in politics, kind of what kind of opportunity this could open the door to being a staffer?
So, well, in the Judiciary Committee, a lot of the young people who come work for us right out of college end up going to law school. And it's a great training, and it's essential for the people that work there. I was thinking yesterday we had the FBI director come, and Greta Gao prepared me for it. We had, we had found a number of media appearances by Kash Patel before, where he was saying just release the whole file. It's totally up to the FBI director. It's within his control. Just release the file. And she found all that stuff for me, which people can do without a law degree. But what she also did was she found me the legal decisions of the judges who were considering the administration's petition to release the grand jury testimony from the prior two cases of Maxwell and Epstein. And there are about 70 or 100 pages there. And I read the decisions the night before. They came back saying, no, this is covered by Rule 6E. As you know, this is covered. But in any event, as Judge Berman said, you've got more than 100,000 pages within your control. And so that was just a decisive refutation of what the FBI director was saying. And by virtue of being a lawyer, being able to read the cases, know that she was there with the right answer in that case. And that's the kind of thing that young people can learn. And they go to law school, then they're able to find the cases, read the cases, analyze the cases, and zero right in on those passages that are going to be important. So thank you, Greta. I forgot to thank you for that.
I know I said I'd go around the horn, Senator, but I want to add something onto this. I think a lot of young people in this country looking at Capitol Hill, looking at just the political environment in the country are, somewhat disenchanted. What would you tell, a young person wanting to get involved in politics? What would be your biggest piece of advice to them?
Well, if they actually came and met some of the members of my staff, they wouldn't be disenchanted anymore. I mean, Houston's over there is like 25. I got Henny's a brilliant videographer. I see Sen back here is probably the same age, magnificent on computers. Kate, who's knows more press than anybody I've ever met, is younger than my 3 kids, and I still look at my 3 kids as like 12, even though they're in their 30s. So it's a different. They just need to see these people. We are always trying to get interns in, and unlike Jamie, who needs all these lawyers for the job that you do, I'm looking for kids that have ranching backgrounds, agriculture backgrounds, a lot of real world life experience in terms of how they were raised, who raised them, where they were raised, and I'm looking for people from Wyoming, and it's always good. All of these interns, that's who we really want to hire from. The interns, I've never had a bad intern. You worry that somebody didn't get the opportunity to do it, but we've never had a bad intern, and they've always been really, really good to work with. So I still think our best days are ahead as a country. This is a wonderful opportunity. I went to college here at Georgetown and medical school here as well. I didn't have an opportunity to work on the Hill during that time, but so many of my friends, undergraduate, did come and spend time. And if you have friends that are younger than you that they're in college, encourage them to come to the Hill and work in those, I believe, be inspired by what they see. Either side of the aisle, hardworking, committed people wanting the country to move forward and be better.
Here. Congressman, in that same vein, what do you think people looking outside of Washington looking in, what's something they don't see when it comes to staffing? What would you tell them? What's something positive that maybe the average member of the general public wouldn't see?
Well, one of the things is that a lot of people see the gridlock first and the fighting first, and they don't really see that individual offices are often delivering for their constituents, making sure that they get the VA benefits, their Social Security, making sure that they're not kicked out of their homes, just going beyond the call of duty. And that's something that I just seen time and time again. And then at the same time, how they have to be real problem solvers. We don't get a manual for every problem, be it something. I got situations where something gets stuck at customs. Well, how do you help a business get something out of customs? Who knows? You have to figure it out. Or post office is closing, or something's happening where they have to just start making phone calls and digging into the issue that they've never seen before. So a lot of these staffers are real problem solvers that get stuff done. At the same time, their passion, because this is it can be a grind. The job's 9 a.m. till 10 p.m. That's often the case during late night votes or even later. So they don't see that just the commitment that the staff has, not only to a particular member, but just to the cause of their own political party or even to their state or the country as a whole.
Congressman Comer, in terms of your staff, I think, or I guess staffing in general, when people from the public are looking in, they might not know what a regular day for a staffer looks like. So could you give us a little peek into what that looks like from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the position. Obviously, with the office staff, just like what he said, you spend a lot of day on the phone trying to help your constituents with navigate the bureaucracies in the federal government, the VA, the Social Security Administration, Medicare. We deal with our constituents with our office staff, but our committee staff's very different. And a normal day on our committee, they're always reading. We've requested tens of thousands of pages of documents, and somebody has to read those documents, and it's the staff, usually the ones that read all of the documents, and they read them all, and then they summarize them all. They type memos all day long. I mean, there's just a lot of reading, a lot of communication. There are a lot of calls whenever they produce their product, a lot of calls from the members asking questions. We have to prepare for, media talking points, for our members, for the media and things like that. It's just it's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job. You're on call every second. I think it's an exciting job. I'm proud of just in the 5 years I've been with the Oversight Committee. I've been ranking member 2.5 years and chairman for 2.5 years. And the number of staffers we've had that have moved up, they moved to K Street or they moved to other committees, and they were started off as a mid-level, low-level staffer at Oversight, and they move on to a bigger job with Energy and Commerce or Agriculture, another committee, and it's really good, and I'm proud of that. And I think that we've just got a great staff, and I don't think the average person realizes how hard the staffers work in Washington. It's not just Oversight Committee. I know it's on all the committees. It's just a lot of reading, a lot of writing, but I think it's a very rewarding job, and I think it's a great start for your future. A lot of people have started out right out of college on the committee, and they've just moved up to bigger and better things.
We only have about 5 minutes left, and I want to start wrapping up with you, Senator Barrasso, because I think you touched on this. You talked about how you think our greatest days as a nation are, ahead of us. I would love to get your advice on the importance of bipartisanship and bringing civility back into politics.
And I think there is a lot of bipartisanship that the public never sees because it doesn't get the eyeballs and it doesn't get pitched, and it's not as sexy, if you will, as some of the fights that are going on. And there you got a lot of performative politics that gets the attention, but you have a lot of serious people on the Hill, serious committed staffers who really do want to make sure the country works, that we keep the government moving forward, do the best we can, whether it's education, housing, healthcare, all of those things. We have different approaches based on who we are and where we were raised and how we were raised in terms of how to get there. But I think people have the right motives, and I'd encourage more young people to come and join in the process, either running for office, but certainly serving and on the Hill. And it's a great experience, which is why, you see so many former staffers who then ultimately run if they get an opportunity, because they know how really important it is for the future of the country and how rewarding it can be as a job.
Congressman Raskin, what's your biggest piece of advice for bringing civility back into politics?
So, I think all of us have to remember what a party is. It comes from the French word parti. It means a part. And my party is just part of the whole. Look, parties play a very important function for us. They organize the electorate, they educate people, they register voters. God knows the government doesn't really register voters in America. They help to articulate legislative agendas and make that coherent for people. The problem is when those of us who aspire and attain to public office get in and we forget that we're not just there to represent our party, we're there to represent everybody in our district and really our state and the whole country. And we can actually do that. I agree with what my colleagues are saying about constituent work. If you come to my district office in Rockville, Maryland, I don't know if I got any 8th District people out here tonight, but you got a problem with Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, VA, education loan, NIH, whatever it is, we go to bat for you. We never ask, oh, are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? Are you green? Are you libertarian? If you live in my district, we're going to go to bat for you. We know how to be bipartisan when we want to. And that was kind of the mini lecture I gave to the senators in the second impeachment trial, saying, you're here because you swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. And you had another oath as a juror, and think of it like constituent work. It's not a partisan thing. You've got to look at what the Constitution says. And so that's a responsibility all of us have way beyond our political party. And if we remember that, if we get out of that party rut, that's all we think about, and we think about the whole country, we think about our Constitution and Bill of Rights, I think we're going to be all right, and we're going to get through the tough times.
Congressman Gomez, are you hopeful that we can bring civility and bipartisanship back into politics?
That's a loaded question. No, I'm kidding. You know, I believe that you have to represent your district, but you do represent everybody in your district. I come from the labor movement, and a lot of people weren't necessarily like pro-charter school. But once I got elected, I said, you know, I represent those charter schools just as I represent the other public schools. And that's the kind of mentality I think we should have across the board, is making, understanding that we do represent everybody and not just the people that vote for us. And that's where I think we're sometimes both parties get a little lost. We only care about the people that vote for us. I've done pieces of legislation when I was at the state level that I was like, oh, I'm going to do this in this bill, and somebody literally said to me, well, that's going to help these red areas and these Republicans, and they're not going to vote for him. I'm like, I'm okay with that. Like, because these people matter to me just as much as they matter to, as my own constituents matter. So if we approach it in that way, I think that's where you start bringing more civility. At the same time, recognizing that these folks are not our enemies, right? The people on the other side of the aisle. And for me, that was easier because I grew up in Riverside, California, when it was mostly Republicans. My first internship, the only person that would give me a chance was a Republican county supervisor. So in some respect, he helped make a progressive Democratic member of Congress. But if it wasn't for him, I would never got that first job. And there's good and decent people on each side of the aisle, and we just need to recognize that and also understand that we might passionately disagree, but it's okay. And we might fight and get a little rowdy. That's okay. It's like a big dysfunctional family at times. But if we understand that it's about keeping that whole family together, that's what's the most important part.
And Congressman Comer, if you could wrap us up, are we going to bring civility back into politics? How can we do it?
I sure hope so. You'll have to excuse me. I've been in a 7-hour oversight meeting with Crockett and Mace fighting, and with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tlaib fighting. But you know, I do believe that the American people are going to demand it at some point. I believe there's going to be a point at which the American people demand that Congress get back to regular order, and that Congress try to be more civil, and that there be some aspect of consensus building. We're not there yet, but I believe that politicians in both parties respond to the American people. And I think we'll get to that point real soon, which, you know, whether it's another disaster like what we saw last week with Charlie Kirk, or you know, the next disaster, there's going to come a point, and I believe this with all my heart, where the American people are going to demand it. And I think at that point, the politicians will respond.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me here tonight. I'm going to hand it back to my colleague, Bill.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you so much to our distinguished lawmakers for a really great discussion. We are going to toast our honorees, but I have one quick note before we do that. The Hill recently launched a new morning television program called Sunrise on the Hill. It's a fantastic show. It actually connects policy and politics to our local DMV community, so it's sort of a mashup between local and national stuff. Sunrise is hosted by Hillary Howard and Corey Smith, who are here tonight. Raise your hands, there you go. And please say hello to them. And I also want to note, okay, I want to note that you can watch their show locally on DC News Now. And finally, we do have swag that is related to Sunrise on the Hill. So on your way out, at the end of tonight, you can grab a free bag of Sunrise on the Hill coffee. Now, without further ado, we will switch to party mode, and we are going to kick things off with a toast to our honorees, our notable staffers. So please grab a glass of whatever is nearest, and maybe I'll grab one. Thank you so much. Let us raise our glasses and make a toast from the Hill to the 2025 class of notable staffers, as well as their bosses and their colleagues and the other Beltway insiders. Here's to you for making this nation's capital a better place. Thank you so much. Cheers.